host, Eric Forsetter. As always, welcome to another terrific show of the EQ Video Tip. Before we get started, let's review the goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? Well, we're going to talk about high-performing teams and how to build trust, or how these teams actually build trust. And it comes to us by Ron Freeman. And Ron did some research from Ignite 80, and they surveyed over 1,000 different companies to understand how office-based workers understood and pinpointed the behaviors of high-performing teams and what made those teams successful. Going through all this data, they came out with a lot of good information that is rich data that will help us understand why certain teams perform well and build trust. Let's jump into Ron's article and see what we can find out. Tip number 1, high-performing teams don't leave collaboration to chance. What do we mean by this? Well, people talk in different ways. Some people like to communicate back and forth via text. Some people like to talk via email. Some people like to talk just in general. Other people like to get together. Whatever it is, it's important to understand your communication preferences. And great teams, they don't leave it to chance. They find out the tasks at which they excel. They tell that to their teammates. Then they talk about their communication style and preferences. And then they also talk about things that were unsuccessful as well as successful in terms of collaboration. When you do that, you'll notice that there's opportunity for everybody to improve upon what they do, but also work in the style that works best for them as well. And in doing so, it allows people to and invites people to speak up and talk about opportunities for improvement as well. So think about leaving your communication styles up for chance, and don't do that. Make sure you collaborate at the best chance possible. Tip number 2, high-performing teams keep colleagues in the loop. What do we mean by that? They don't withhold information. When they get information, they find a medium to share it, whether it's via email, a conference call, a Slack message, whatever it might be. They share that information and they give others the opportunity to not only understand that information, but utilize it. It's important that you don't hoard information. While it may seem like a great thing at times and you have power with it, the more you share the information, the more you collaborate, the better the team will be. So high-performing teams keep their colleagues in the loop. Tip number 3, high-performing teams share the credit. And it's so important to receive praise for a well done job. It is important for team building and also morale, because instead of soaking up the praise alone, there's a team behind you that helped you out. And when you do so, everybody understands that they're part of the team, that they share part of this accomplishment, and they appear that they needed your help when they were doing this task. It's so important to think about how the reciprocity works on both sides of the equation, because if you're contributing to a project, you want to be seen as a member that is one of the contributing members. So take a moment to share the credit, even if you get all the praise. Defer it and say, yeah, I did a great job, but it's really because of my teammates. They helped me out as well. Our next tip, high-performing teams believe that disagreements actually make them better. What do we mean by that? Well, it's okay to have disagreements, and when those happen, to learn from them. You have to make sure that your failures are going to be part of your successes. You have to understand that sometimes your disagreeing is going to lead to an opportunity somewhere else. Maybe one team wants to go left, the other part of the team wants to go right. At the end of the day, you'll have to make a decision. Maybe you will fail, or maybe you'll learn something from it. Whatever it might be, you have to understand that workplace disagreements are okay, but they lead to better decisions, especially if you foster psychological safety so that the whole team has an opportunity to learn and to give their opinions, which are valued by the team. So remember, believe in disagreements because it'll help you become better. Our last tip, high-performing teams proactively address tension. What do we mean by that? Well, it's okay to have friction in the workplace. It's very common, actually, but we understand that these relationships, no matter what the friction is, can be salvaged. And those who take that kind of view understand that there's room for growth, and they have that growth mindset, because if something doesn't feel right between you and a teammate, you have the ability to go and embrace it, embrace the growth mindset, and then go talk to them to work it out, because you understand at the end of the day it's work, and that you're teammates and you're going to work for the best outcome possible for yourselves as well as for your customer. So remember, high-performing teams proactively address the tension. That's a wrap for this week's EQ video tip. Remember, high-performing teams earn the trust of one another, and they take time to figure out how to work best together and how to communicate. Use these tips, customize them for your teams to help you become one of the best high-performing teams in your workplace.